Welcome back. And joining me now is Democratic Senator Adam Schiff of California. Senator Schiff, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Great to be with you.
Great to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to start right where I left off with the House Speaker, the government shutdown. Three of your colleagues in the Democratic caucus have broken rank. They voted with Republicans to keep the government open. How confident are you that Democrats will stay united in this fight?
I'm confident all Democrats understand that millions and millions of their constituents are about to be priced out of their health care. I was in California last week in Oceanside and in Anaheim. Average families of four are going to see the premiums go up by $900 to $1,000 a month. No one can afford that, and that's going to happen all across the country. So I think all my colleagues understand the crisis. We need a president who can act like an adult, who can come to the table and negotiate an end to their self-imposed health care crisis. Right now, we don't see that. We see Trump out on the golf course. We see the speaker telling his House colleagues not to even come to session, that there's no work for the federal government to do, apparently. That's completely unacceptable. And in addition to the need to restore health care affordability for people, we need to make sure that any agreement that we reach with Republicans, they will honor, because right now they're telling us, you can reach an agreement with us, but we're simply going to withhold any money that's important to you, any programs that are important to you. And as for the speaker telling you or not telling you his position on the president threatening mass layoffs of federal employees, there's no one forcing him to do that. He will do that because he wants to do that, because he and Russell Vought want to cause even more pain for the American people. That is unprecedented. No other president during a shutdown has sought to maximize the harms to people, but that's where this president is coming from.
Well, let me ask you, you heard Speaker Johnson, as you're just referencing, criticize Democrats for using the government shutdown to press for an extension of those Obamacare tax subsidies. But you actually did make a similar point back in 2013. That's when Tea Party Republicans pushed to shut down the government against Obamacare. Let me play that for you, get your reaction on the other side.
It's more than fair to ask the president to negotiate improvements to the Affordable Care Act, but not with the threat of shutting down the government or defaulting on our debt. It's just no way to do business and can't be allowed to proceed that way, not only for this president, but for future presidents.
Senator, why is now different?
It's different in two respects. It's different because in a month or two, millions of Americans are not going to be able to afford health care. So there is a crisis now that we didn't have then. The crisis is far worse now, I should say, than we had then. But there's another difference, too, and that is that was a time when if we did agree on a continuing resolution, Republicans were promising to honor it. Now they're promising not to honor it. You have the president and Russell Vought saying they're going to continue to illegally withhold money. So if we agree to a CR and nothing more, they're telling us we don't plan to abide by it. So it is very different than it was in the past. We need both to address the healthcare crisis, and we need some written assurance in the law, I won't take a promise, that they're not going to renege on any deal we make.
Let me ask you about another matter here, Senator. I want to talk about the president's speech and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's speech as well to the armed forces earlier this week. I'm going to play a little bit more of what we heard from President Trump. Get your reaction on the other side.
And I told Pete we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military.
And as I just said earlier, President Trump has now ordered 300 National Guard troops to Chicago over the objections of the Illinois governor. How should Democrats respond? What can you do? What recourse do you have?
I mean, first of all, the president was being candid when he described these American cities as the enemy within. He views them as the enemy within. That is unprecedented in its dangerousness. That is, that an American president views cities that didn't support him or states that didn't support him as the enemy, that he describes the opposite party as beholden to Satan. That's where this president is coming from. And the idea that we will militarize these cities, that we will impose the U.S. military on the mayors and governors of those cities and states should be unthinkable. And for Speaker Johnson to claim, as he did when you interviewed him, that somehow these National Guard troops that over the governor's opposition are being forced to engage in policing or immigration enforcement, are very happy to be doing it. I can tell you in California, the National Guard were not happy to be doing it. It is, I think, greatly impacting morale in the National Guard. And it is also disrupting the trust that Americans have for their National Guard. We have a particular bond in California where they come to our rescue during fires and floods and other natural disasters. That is being eroded, as I think is also military readiness when we're diverting military resources for these improper purposes.
Let me turn to another topic.
But on remedies,
yes.
The only remedy we have is litigation. And as we just saw in Portland, where a judge struck down their ability to misuse troops this way, it is an effective remedy, although the Supreme Court is still very much in doubt in terms of whether they will uphold or strike this down.
Well, you raised the judicial system. You take me to my next question. Former FBI Director James Comey was, as you know, indicted 5 days after President Trump posted this to his Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Let me read it and remind our viewers, quote, Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. Given how quickly the Justice Department moved to press criminal charges against James Comey, are you concerned, Senator, that you could be next?
Well, first of all, the Republican U.S. Attorney in Virginia refused to go forward with this prosecution of James Comey because he thought it lacked evidence. They fired him. They fired him and replaced him with a personal lawyer of the president's, an insurance lawyer, to seek these charges. That is unheard of. I spent almost 6 years in the Justice Department, never saw anything remotely like this. And for the president to, on social media, badger his attorney general to go after people, let me just say this, because it's connected to your previous question about the enemy within. He's described me as the enemy within. He's described other Democratic elected officials as the enemy within. He is using the Justice Department to go after his political enemies, and he's using the Justice Department to protect his political friends, like Tom Homan, the border czar, who reportedly took $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents, and they made the case go away. This should concern every American, not just those he's tweeting about like myself, but anyone who cares about whether the Justice Department can be used against people for expressing their views or doing their job or holding the president accountable, anyone who cares about whether the administration can go after late-night comedians or tell corporations who they can hire or tell law firms who they can represent. It is all part of the same attack on our democracy. And I will say, if this goes on, if Republicans allow this to go on for 4 years, there will be nothing left of our democracy. We have an opportunity to stop this. It would require just a handful of Republicans of conscience to oppose these lawless actions, this abuse of the Justice Department and abuse of the FEC and everything else. We need them to stand up and do their duty.
Senator Adam Schiff, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.